The boys are back in London, fresh off their World Championship victory. Thomas Tuchel and the team are in southwest London this afternoon, Selhurst Park, playing host. We are back in Premier League action. It's stormy, it's windy, it's wet out there, but hopefully it'll be a nice, clean 3 points coming back to Stamford Bridge this afternoon. Kick-off coming your way at 3 o'clock. Good afternoon and welcome to Matchday Live in the company of Zach and Sam. Boys, are we good?
Oh, I'm buzzing, mate. First time I've been on this set. Look, I'm real. It's so good.
We just had that awkward conversation of how do we sit in this now?
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure. I'll probably have a few.
So the legs up.
You've changed it cross-legged, yeah.
We'll see in time.
As you get more analytical, you get more into it a little bit more.
All that kind of stuff.
Obviously, first Premier League game for a while.
Yeah.
Feels like ages since we played in the Premier League. I think it's 27 days. Spurs at home was the last one we played.
Wow.
It's been quite a lot that's changed since then.
Yeah, I noticed earlier, I was like, beforehand, we had so many games in hand on other people, or we'd played more games than others. Now we've got games in hand on other people.
Yeah.
It's crazy how it's turned around. But that's what being an elite club is, and playing at the top of your game and playing in all competitions allows you to do. Yeah, I'm glad to be back in the league, though, that's for sure.
It does feel like we've kind of stepped into it with a bit of swagger. We've not played in a while, but that confidence of winning the Club World Cup, you know, coming through a difficult spell against Plymouth, which I think we'd have all assumed it was going to be an easier ride than that. But to have come over two big things, to have carried those into the league, despite not playing, it feels like maybe we've come in sort of rejuvenated a little bit.
Yeah, 100%. We're world champs now. Like we're going to have that gold
Love
crest
that.
in the middle of our chest. So we're going to walk with a bit more swag, like you said. And I think there's going to be a whole lot more confidence in the squad because of that. Like we said, the games were huge. The teams really tried against us. And plus the players have had a little bit of a break as well. That is also always nice to have. So I think now, you know, it's raining a little bit, but it's something that they're used to. So it's going to be an exciting game. Wearing
that yellow kit as well today, which I looked at in the club shop beforehand in the Megastore, and it's got the gold badge available in the club shop. But Chelsea are going to be wearing that today. And like Sam said, it does give you a bit more of a bounce. You know, you are world champs. You've got that crest in the middle of your shirt. It feels different. Massively.
This is a huge competition. Like, I actually think in England it's probably not respected enough. Like, over in Brazil and other countries, like, it's the creme de la creme. It's the highest you can go. You can be the world champions. And it's massive. And not just that, like, it was pretty good, I thought, as well, to have like a... like it's also a bit like a mini training camp too. All the players are out there, sunny weather. Even you see guys like who are injured, like Reece James and Ben Chilwell, going over there just to be with the lads and to make sure like it's got that kind of that pre-season kind of vibe. So yeah, that'll bring great momentum into the rest of our season.
Absolutely. Obviously, it's getting tight now, isn't it? It's getting busy, especially the top end of the Premier League table. Let's have a little look at that. Actually, I think we can do that. I think we can have a look at that because it feels like we've got quite a lot of. The top 8 is very tight. The top 8 is very tight. We know about it. The reason we haven't got it is because West Ham are playing at the moment. Obviously, so that's going to change by the second. But they're 1-1 at the moment. We were when we came on air a couple of minutes ago. It is tight up there, Sam. But I suppose the positive aspect is Chelsea are the team that are being chased, and when you've got games like today, they're only ever a conversation if Chelsea don't get 3 points after it.
Yeah, and I think every game up until the end of the season is going to be quite difficult. We've seen the teams around us drop points. We've seen, for example, Spurs. They've had quite a few games in hand. They still do, but they've dropped points on 3 games on the bounce. Probably wouldn't have expected that. Manchester United, they had a very good run, but they weren't able to capitalise on that and get the max points that they probably thought that they would as well. And I think, like you said, because we're the ones being chased, we're also chasing Liverpool and City, who are obviously ahead of us, but those are the standards that we set ourselves. So I think we're in a good position, but I know with the mindset that the team has that we're just looking forward.
Completely right. I mean, even there, you can see it on the sidebar there. If Chelsea win today, 7 points clear of Manchester United in 5th. West Ham, again, that could change. They could go a little bit closer, but not really. Arsenal, Wolves, Spurs, probably ends there. Brighton maybe a little bit far away, 10 points off Man United in 5th. But that cluster of teams there with games in hand, left, right and centre, again, it does come down to teams putting points on the board and they're not really worrying about games in hand, because it was only a month ago when we played Spurs. If they'd won all their games in hand, they could go above us. It's not happening because you've got 4 games to fit in, and they're the difficult games to fit in. So it's important that you just continue.
Yeah, 100%. I think people look at games in hand and just be like, well, they're 3 points every single one, whereas that's not how it works, especially in the Premier League where anyone can beat anyone. And I think if you're in Chelsea's position there, you'd much rather be the ones that they're chasing and you're leading the pack. And I think if you are Chelsea, rather than really looking down, you just want to look up. You want to make sure try and chase Liverpool, try and get to that second place. Personally, I think first is kind of done now. Even for Liverpool, it looks like it's going to be City's to win. However, you want to try and push to as far as you can in the Premier League. And if Liverpool do slip up, you're on them. You're on them like a tiger. Don't know what. Anyway, but rather than looking down below you and thinking like, oh well, if we drop 3 points here, or if we only get a draw, then these are not too far from you. You'd want to be focusing above and trying to keep going and setting it and getting as many 3 points as possible.
No, you're absolutely right, and I suppose there is that saving grace as well. Like Zach said, you've got to look above. You've got to look at the teams ahead of you. Liverpool, Manchester City, the two teams that we're chasing. We're still in that hunt for second place. I think, like Zach said, first place is a bit far away. You never rule it out because Chelsea are capable of going on a run. Probably one of the only few teams that are, and that's probably why we're looking behind us, because that consistency coming from Man United, West Ham, Arsenal, Spurs, Wolves, the one thing they've lacked all season long is consistency. You don't feel any of them are capable of putting a run Manchester City-esque together.
And we've actually only lost 2 games, I think it's in the league, or two or 3 games in the league. So we've kept a standard, do you know what I mean? And obviously we've had draws where we've been disappointed. We've dropped points in the last few minutes of games, but you can tell with this team that we're trying to get to that standard. We know how hard it is to win the Premier League. We've seen how City and Liverpool have done it over the last few years. You've got to really be at your ultimate best every single week, and we're getting there. So it's definitely a part of the journey. But like Zach said, we want to look forward. We're not trying to look at the teams behind us.
Oh, absolutely right. Absolutely right. Obviously, this afternoon is a big one. Chelsea back in Premier League action, and we've got the brilliant Lee Parker at Selhurst Park for us. Lee, how are you, mate? Are you good?
Hi.
I'm all right, actually. Beautiful weather. Look at this. In East Abu Dhabi.
You've styled it out. You don't look cold at all, pal. How are you?
I'm okay, mate. I'm really well. How are you?
Yeah, we're all very good, mate. We're all very good in the nice, dry and warm. I don't want to rub that in too much, though. So can you give us the team news, please, Lee?
I can. I had this coming, didn't I, after a week in the sun. Thomas Tuchel makes 4 changes from the team that beat Palmeiras. We're going 3-4-3 with Edu Mendy in goal, Christensen, Silva and Rudiger in the back 3, Pulisic at right wing back, Jorginho, Kanté and Sarr at the left, Ziyech, Havertz and Lukaku.
I mean, let's have a little chat about that because, as you can see the team on the screen there, Lukaku up front. Again, we think we're going 3-4-3, so Pulisic at right wing back, Sarr at left wing back. It's a big ask for Christian Pulisic, Lee, isn't it? Because it's a different role to the one that he's been asked to do recently, but we have seen him occupy that position before, and I'm sure, again, when you've got a player of Christian Pulisic's quality, having him in the team is always a bonus.
Absolutely, 100%. He's looked sharp in training, and as we spoke to Thomas Tuchel yesterday, he's got a great record against Crystal Palace, scoring 5 in 5 in the Premier League. So, like you said, slightly different position for him this year, this weekend, should I say. But, I mean, you can expect it to be a fluid formation, as we've seen under the boss, and hopefully he'll get into those attacking areas once again.
And also, considering that he played in -15 temperatures for the USA not too long ago, he'll find this as warm as the week in Abu Dhabi, won't he?
Positively tropical. I mean, he's got some air miles under his belt, hasn't he? Flying in from South America, then out to the east and then back here. So, I mean, my goodness, he's certainly covered some ground in the last couple of weeks. But he'll be looking forward to this. He'll want to get out there. And it should be knowing that the way that Palace like to play their football, it should be an open game, especially in these conditions as well.
And we've seen on the Instagram, Lee, as well, that Chelsea will be wearing the gold crest in the middle of the away shirt today, which I was just speaking to the boys. What a buzz that gives, not just players, but fans alike as well. Seeing that in the middle of the shirt makes such a difference.
Yeah. 100%. And the whole experience of winning the Club World Cup, we spoke to the boss yesterday and just said, how much does this galvanise everybody around the club? And, you know, it just helps to breed that winning mentality, doesn't it? And like you say, to go out there and it really is, pardon the pun, a real badge of honour, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely right. And just on that as well, finally, obviously, Captain Jorginho for today. Usually when the club captain's missing, especially a player as well thought of as Azpilicueta, off the week he's had winning the final piece of silverware to add to his collection, usually a bit of a drop-off. But the fact you've got so many leaders within the camp, Jorginho wearing the armband today is again, not something that ever will concern the boss.
No, I think you're absolutely spot on, Joe. I mean, he is a real leader. He really is. We saw that again last weekend. He was fantastic value throughout the whole trip in Abu Dhabi. And you say that it's a really good point. Some leaders in this team, when you look at Silva, Rudiger, Jorginho, big characters, Lukaku. So there's no shortage of responsibility and leadership in this bit on this pitch today.
Absolutely, mate. I'm going to let you go and get dry. Thank you very much for joining us, Lee.
I look forward to it. Cheers, guys.
Take care, mate. Thank you very much. Let's continue that then, boys. A three at the back, we're not sort of surprised to see, but bearing in mind the amount of absentees we've got in certain areas, potentially we'd have thought maybe he'd have gone to a 4 today. Maybe the fact that Aspie's unavailable is why he's gone to a 5 again.
Yeah. Obviously, we've seen injuries hit us quite badly this season, especially in that kind of full-back area. Once Reece is out and obviously Aspie, then I think you are kind of relying on a kind of a patch job per se. But it's not something that we've not seen, say, hudson-odoi or Christian Pulisic do before. They have tried it out there. And with Malang Sarr, I guess, on the left side, most of your attacks are going to be coming down that right side because he's obviously Sarr is more of a defensive player, and so I think we'll probably see Pulisic at times probably playing that kind of like right wing at times, bombing on, especially when you think we're going to kind of dominate the ball and have a lot of fun. I think we'll probably see a lot of Pulisic today.
Quite a test for him defensively. If we'd imagine that Wilfried Zaha starts left midfield, I know he starts, but you imagine he starts on that left side. It's a big test defensively for Christian Pulisic. Probably the fact that he's played right back a couple of times midway through games, even the Spurs game in the Carabao Cup, I think he went and did a shift at right back. The fact that he's added quite a lot of defensive responsibility to his role this year will be one of the reasons why the boss trusts him in that position. Yeah,
100%. I think he said in a few interviews that he's obviously had to adapt to a few different roles, but with the way he plays, you can see there's a willingness to, improve and to develop his game. He's still very young, and like we've said with quite a few players in the Chelsea squad, there is going to be a time where you might have to fill in a position that isn't too natural to you, but because Tuchel has said that he believes that you can play that position, you're going to have the confidence that you can do it quite well. He's obviously going to know that the Zahas and the players, the tricky players that Crystal Palace have are going to play, but the fact that he's picked him is going to give him a lot of confidence.
And the boss spoke about, Lee mentioned it there, the quality that we've got within the squad and their record against Crystal Palace. Pulisic 5-5. I think Lukaku's got a great record against Crystal Palace as well. When you've got players that feel comfortable against specific teams, Kai Havertz scored a worldie last year and very nearly scored a second as well.
Yeah, he did.
When you've got players that have got that sort of confidence and comfortability coming into a game like today, I suppose your best bet is just to play them, because if they've got a record, there's a reason they've got a good record against them.
Yeah, 100%. It's not necessarily the same Crystal Palace of maybe the team that Lukaku has played against last time. However, earlier this season when we played them at Stamford Bridge, we put in a really strong performance. I think it was 3-0. Saw Trevor Chalobah score his first goal. And so, there's definitely a thing. I think as a player, when you go into these games and you think, you know what, I've seen players talk about it. I've played really well against Crystal Palace or whatever team might be. You'll have that kind of just bit of extra confidence about believing in yourself. And sometimes that is all it'll take to get you a goal.
It does feel like those sort of incremental gains and those small margins that we speak about so often, a game like today is definitely one of those where it's needed, because we've seen Palace on a day can be brilliant and at other times they could be quite poor. I suppose the difference today is if they play well, we're going to need that little bit of magic, that little spark, that little something. And again, we keep coming back to it, but Romelu Lukaku, 2-2 at the Club World Cup, comes off that good form. You feel that today may be that day.
Yeah, and I think Tuchel's definitely going to tell the team that Crystal Palace have definitely improved from the first game of the season. We've seen them, like you said, they've had patchy periods of form, but they've definitely improved under Vieira. They're playing with much more confidence and as a team. So I think the team that Tuchel's picked today, they're going to know what they're up against and know that this is going to be a challenge. The weather's going to be affecting them. The fans are going to be up for it because they're going to know that it's a London derby as well. So they're going to be up for it. So I think it's going to be a fiery affair, man.
It's going to be a good one, Sam. I'm looking forward to it. Obviously, Play Predictor, you've got until 5 minutes before kick-off to get your predictions in on the fifth stand-up. It's well worth a go. You can win loads of really cool prizes, not just each and every game week, but also all end-of-season champion gets a really, really cool prize. So let's go with final score, Zach. What do you reckon?
Final score, I really want a clean sheet today. I'd really like a clean sheet, so I'll go for a 2-0 win.
2-0. And Sam, first goal scorer?
Lukaku. I'll go Lukaku.
You fancy it, don't he?
Yeah. I need him. I feel like he's going to be confident after those 2 goals at the Club World Cup.
Shots then, Zach, because we know that Palace defensively can be quite good. Obviously, Mark Gurhey and Anderson as a 2 at the back. They've got a good goalkeeper in Guaita.
Indeed. I just think recently Chelsea have been taking a lot of shots, to be quite honest. So 19.
19.
Not quite the 40 that we reached against Plymouth, but 19.
19.
Shots.
Okay. And corners as well, Sam, because this seems like a really trivial point, but we've seen how windy it's been the last 2 days in London specifically. You know, it's been... I mean, we know it's been a red weather warning, like it's been that bad. So you do wonder maybe whether corners a little bit are going to be a bit more contentious today, because...
Goal from a corner?
Do you want them or do you not want them? I don't know how it works.
Yeah. Eunice has been running wild. I think maybe 8, 9 corners. Yeah. I think they will try to avoid it because, like you said, it could just... You take a corner and it just goes to your goalkeeper or something.
God.
If there's ever going to be a day where it's either a goal direct from a corner or one that's just going to come out for a throw-in.
First goal scorer, Mendy.
Win the system. We'll absolutely take it. We'll absolutely take it. Right then, time for the social. So yes, welcome to the social. This is the part where we look across social media through the eyes of a Chelsea fan over the last week or so. Obviously, there's been quite a lot going on, but we need to start with one thing, which is show and tell, right? So what we're going to do today is we are going to, I suppose, a little bit look at loan success stories, OK? So obviously, stats don't tell you everything about the development or bits and pieces like that, but we've had a huge amount of success recently, players on loan. At the moment, someone that's unavailable today, but the reason that we're kind of talking about this is Conor Gallagher is doing a terrific job at Crystal Palace. He's been fantastic this season, obviously cannot play today. So we picked 3 players that are in the current Chelsea squad that have been out on loan and been hugely successful. And Zach, you're going to start with Mason Mount.
Of course. I mean, the name alone should just explain it. He's been fantastic. I mean, this is his first senior Premier League game for Chelsea. Under Frank Lampard it was, against Leicester. And it really just epitomises him. He's a workhorse. He'll chase you down. Any mistake you give him, he'll capitalise on it. And to think that this is his first goal for Chelsea on his debut, to see where he's come from there to now. Like, watching him there, and I mean this in a nice way, like he looks like a boy, right, who has just come back from his loan experience, come back to his parent club. Obviously, 24 goals and assists on loan at Vitesse, a fantastic season at Derby, getting to the playoff finals. And now you look at him, he's a Champions League winner. Right, he's battling at the very top of the Premier League. He's having the best managers in the world, Jurgen Klopp, Thomas Tuchel, Pep Guardiola, all complimenting him. He's in the England squad. He got to the finals of the Euros, and he's done that within like 3 years of being on loan. And so it's mightily impressive, and I think it's a really real huge success story for the Chelsea loan system. You
make a huge point there about developing as a personality and a person as well. You know, Mason Mount now is not only one of the biggest voices in the dressing room, but on and off the pitch for Chelsea. You see him in every video that Chelsea put out. He's such a character, he's such a big part of it. Another big character, another person that's done extremely well on loan. You've gone for Romelu Lukaku. Yeah, man. I think he just epitomises how well you can do on loan and the confidence that you show when you go out. I think he just became a serial goal. He was like the original, wasn't he? The first one. Yeah. And I think the confidence that he showed and the fact that now he's back, and I feel like when he was on loan, he was playing with a chip on his shoulder. He wanted to come back to Chelsea. He wanted to, you know, really perform, be like his idol Didier Drogba. Obviously, it didn't work out straight after the loan, but now he's back. He scored important goals like we saw in the Club World Cup, and I think he's definitely got way more important goals for us. And I think the way he started the season before he got injured and had COVID, he was the force that we expected and wanted him to be. Obviously, injuries, COVID, a few other things affected that, but I think now, with the confidence from the goals, we're going to see a lot more. I completely agree. And again, you know, he was on loan at West Brom and Everton, makes the permanent move to Everton, but it's that development of skills and everything, isn't it? Because his goal record's sensational, both of those clubs, but the way he develops into a complete footballer when he goes to Everton for the second time, and just, I completely agree. I've gone for someone, again, I think both you boys are well aware and will have picked, if I hadn't picked him, or it would be Reece James. I mean, Reece has been unbelievable for Chelsea. Unbelievable. I mean, this is his goal against Juventus, right? Now, we could have picked about 4 or 5 different goals from Reece this season, but I think this is a great one because it shows the composure. You know, this is still such a young player, but composure has been something that everyone has levelled with him for such a long time. Not only his ability technically, his strength, his ability to run games, his ability to win games. It's ridiculous. So wow. But when he was on, because he was on loan at Wigan, obviously, and whenever you put any Reece James content out online, Wigan fans love him. For a player that was only there for a season, they love him. He played every game except one in the Championship that year. He was sensational. Player of the season, Players' Player of the season, Goal of the season. And for a player on loan, I watched he captained the final game of the season against Millwall, and I watched this yesterday. When he came off, he got a standing ovation. Now, everyone knows, watching lower league football, when a player comes on loan from a big team, you kind of think they're not going to stay here. So you don't want to form that attachment because they're not going to stay.
They say never fall in love with a lone player.
But that's exactly it. But the affection, the outpour towards him, because he was so important. Played centre mid, played right back, captain the side at such a young age. Fantastic, all three of them. And now we've got 3 world-class players.
I think as well, Reece James, he didn't have another loan or whatever. He played in the Championship and straight into the first team straight after. It's mightily impressive.
Absolutely. I mean, you could pick any of the 3, to be fair. You could pick countless more. And this time next season, we'll be having the same conversation about Conor Gallagher and Billy Gilmore and all the players that are doing good work. Levi Colwill, Brozier, so many more. So, yeah, make sure you tell us your favourite in the comment section a little bit further down below. Right now, let's move on to trending, because the biggest trending topic on social media over the last couple of days, of course, has been the hashtag "We won it all." We have won it all, Sam. Champions of the world, mate.
Yes, it was a great feeling. I was surprisingly so nervous, just because it was that one trophy that we obviously wasn't able to win it the first time, and this time it just felt like we just had to win it. You know, there was interviews with Tuchel saying, like, we have to come back with the trophy. The players were saying how important it is. Aspie was saying how important it is for him to win everything and become the first player to do so. And when Havertz stepped up, and that whole moment just epitomises where we are as a team. Like, everyone cares for each other so much. Aspie made sure he soaked up the pressure and he gave Havertz the ball, and it was just beautiful.
That is one of the most iconic moments, I think. Again, the last couple of years, to complete the set, but that Azpilicueta moment of him holding the penalty. We're obviously doing the watch-along, right? Me, Sam and Dan and Pat were sat here and we're going, Aspie's going to take it. Yeah, I'm OK with that. Fooled everyone, us included. And again, you know, as Chelsea fans, you could have probably picked 6 or 7 penalty takers that you'd put ahead of Aspie, but you thought, captain, of course, fine. To take all of that pressure off and to do it, you could tell how much it meant as well. Some of the reaction from some of the players, I'm sure we've seen on social media. In fact, I think we've got a couple of those as well to have a little look at, because the reaction from the players tell it all, really. Reece James, just speaking about it, history is made, Club World Cup champions, another chapter in the Chelsea history book written this season. See you all again soon. Aim for the moon and shoot for the stars. Tonight we made history. Reece obviously not involved in the squad, really. Zach, he was out there. He's part of it.
I love that picture.
Tony Rudiger and the boys. The fact that all of these players not only have played a huge part. Kepa, I mean, what a story. He's sensational. Didn't play in the final.
Big semi-final, though.
Big semi-final. We were a little bit surprised he didn't start in the finals, Zach, to be honest. Again, you know, I thought he was a nailed-on. Kovacic, 3 times winner of this tournament now. Fantastic. There's so many players, and obviously, you've got to finish with Kai, haven't you? As a kid, I watched these games with my family and could only dream of these moments. Champions League winner, World Cup winner, Club World Cup winner, I have to put his name there. He'll probably be a World Cup winner at some point in his career. But you can tell from the outside in, like you've already said, there's a little bit of a lazy kind of, it's not, you know.
Yeah, massively.
But I think when you're in it, when you feel it, you have to be the best team in Europe to qualify for it. And then when you get there, you beat every other champion from around the world. It's such a big deal. And it's a lazy opinion to not take it on as a big deal. The players appreciate it.
100%, 100%. I think as a player, like, you hear that and you go, like, there were some comments where it's like, Chelsea should just focus on their league and their league position, all this kind of stuff. It's like, what? You have to firstly, to get into this competition, you have to, as you said, be the champion of Europe. You have to have got to the final of the Champions League. Within that, we've beaten Real Madrid. Within that, you've beaten Atletico Madrid. You beat Manchester City, the champion of England. And then you take on the champions of Brazil, the champions of so on and so forth. And it's a competition which I do think is probably a little bit too much disrespect, mainly because I guess it's done during the Premier League season or whilst other Premier League games are going on. If that was going on during the summer or another time, people would be paying attention to it a lot more. And so, yeah, it's one of those ones that Chelsea had missed out on that trophy before, and we wanted to change that, and that team did a perfect job of doing so.
Let's talk about Aspie a little bit more. I know we've already mentioned it. There's a tweet actually here that we've got to show because this is great. Cesar Azpilicueta has never made a mistake that has led to a goal in the Premier League. He's been Chelsea for 9 years. And there's another one here as well. He took the ball like he's going to take... This is what we were talking about. The Palmeiras players tried to get into his head so he can miss it. He absorbed all that pressure and gave it to Kai to reduce the pressure on him. That is a captain, right? But not just that, Sam, because, again, we listened to the interview that he made afterwards and he said he'd done the research. They'd seen that the players were going to be around him. To have that composure in extra time of a major final, you know, have that composure to remember all that and to go, no, I'm going to do this. I'm going to soak all that up. He's won everything. idolised here. He is adored. He is such a fantastic pro on and off the pitch. It does feel a little bit like it was meant to be, the fact he was going to win it all.
Yeah, I love Aspie so much. Just because he's so unproblematic, he's so consistent. You can tell he's a manager's dream, like the type of player that, for example, if the manager's not around, we heard Aspie say that he had to pick up that role and almost become Tuchel in a sense and make sure everyone's still taking it as serious, doing the things that the manager would normally tell them to do. And I think he's just, throughout his whole career, he's just always maintained that professional edge. Like, he just doesn't want to fall off. He's getting older, but he's almost getting wiser. So you see his game evolve in a sense where when he's tracking back or defending against players, he always puts in the effort. You can see it when he's running. He makes sure that he's there, and it's perfect. I saw someone tweet that when he's doing his testimonial that everyone's going to have to tuck in their shirt. And I said that has to happen, because even something like that, it seems so old-fashioned, but I think that's the type of mentality he has. He just wants to get the job done, wants to look proper, and let's move. And I think he's going to definitely be one of Chelsea's biggest legends.
Completely agree. Romelu Lukaku, obviously 2 massive goals in the competition. He's Chelsea's all-time top goal scorer in that tournament now as well. This is lovely though. Odoi with the cross, Lukaku with a header.
What a great cross.
Great work.
Great cross. Really
good cross. But again, we've spoken about this countless times. That's nice. With Didier after the game, catching up. We've spoken about this countless times, but there's this kind of rhetoric around Romelu Lukaku that he's only a target man, and I think ever since he's come back to Chelsea, we've been very quick to kind of point out that he does a lot more for the team. 2 goals that he scored, they're sort of with the 18-yard box where you want him, but also his all-round play was brilliant in the Club World Cup. He's very different defenders that he's up against, Palmeiras and Al Hilal, but in both games, involved in all the build-up, involved in all the play, making runs that perhaps weren't getting the through balls, but stretching the play. He did everything. It was a complete performance from him. Yeah,
I think because he is someone that is 6'3", 6'4"-ish or whatever, obviously stocky build and a strong guy, there is that assumption of, OK, he is a target man, cross the ball into him, he'll head it. And he can do that, and he has done that with voice break. But he also has so many more elements to his game, especially that we saw a lot develop over in Italy when he was playing for Inter Milan. His ability to run with the ball, his ability to make the runs in behind. And you are right, like he is still doing that kind of stuff here, but maybe we just aren't finding him as much, or it's not quite working out just yet. But who knows, with the confidence that the Club World Cup would have brought him and how they were celebrating, how much they looked like they enjoyed their time kind of away from everything, away from the Premier League, away from any kind of distractions about that, and just focusing on that tournament. It could be a bit of a rejuvenated Lukaku, for
Absolutely
sure.
Right. We've been speaking about Loan Watch and players that have had a big impact on loan, which is why we're going to do a Loan Watch quiz. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So I want you to buzz in when you think you know the answer. Okay. So
Sure.
I'm going to give you a list of clubs that this player has played for, and you have to tell me which player it is that has spent time on loan at these clubs.
Okay. If Vitesse is there, it could be anyone.
Okay. So yeah, just buzz in. Just buzz in when you know. Okay. RB Leipzig, Sheffield United, Venezia.
Ampadu.
It is Ethan Ampadu. Good work. He's on loan at Venezia at the moment. OK, question 2. Borussia Dortmund.
Batshuayi.
It is Batshuayi.
That is...
We've only sent one loan. We've only sent one loan to Dortmund.
OK, Charlton.
Conor Gallagher.
OK, come on, Zach. Like, fam, we should have done back. What is this?
This is outrageous from him, to be fair.
Oh my days, now they're putting it up. You don't do this for any other quiz.
That's
All right, now I need to sit forward. Let's go.
OK, question 4. Watford. Newcastle. Getafe.
Kennedy.
It is Kennedy. Oh, it's 4-0. This could be a whitewash. I don't think we've ever had a whitewash, Sam. No pressure. Question 5. AC Milan.
Tomorrow. Bakayoko.
It is Bakayoko. Oh, hang on. No, there's a 6. This is for a 6-0.
Oh, gosh.
This is for a 6-0. OK.
Tomorrow's a good shout. He did go on.
It is, yeah. It is a good one, yeah.
Good shout.
Burnley. Aston
Danny
Villa.
Drinkwater.
Nah, see, Zach, he watches the loan, like, where they're going. He did research. I'm having this as fixed because that was too fast anyway.
I'll be honest with you, I'm going to have to check that he wasn't on the email.
Yeah, honestly, because that is mad.
Hey,
to be honest, I'm not having that.
I am very simple in certain areas, but loans...
That is sensational.
I'd like to know where our players go.
That is sensational.
I'm kind of upset I didn't get one right there.
Tomori was a good shout, honestly. Tomori was a really good shout.
I think I should get the Tomori one because that was the
But he's also
Well,
the other ones weren't.
The next one on there was Monaco, but it's a good call. Fikayo Tomori is another one though. But I suppose with all of these players that we're talking about here, I think that the main thing that you talk about, and there was that when we were talking in the Plymouth game, Jordan Houghton that plays for Plymouth, he said that coming through the academy at Chelsea or being developed at Chelsea was like having an Oxbridge education.
Yeah.
You know, he's kind of that level, Sam. When you talk about players that have been out on loan, I suppose the incentive is not just you could play for Chelsea next season, you could be a first teamer at Chelsea, but also knowing that you're in the public eye in terms of you're in the shop window massively. If you can prove that you can do a job elsewhere, there'll be teams going, if he's come for at Chelsea, he's good enough there, he's performed on loan, we'll give you a career.
Yeah, 100%. You see, with like we were talking about the Reece James and Mount and Lukaku's, the standard that they set themselves when they do go out on loan, because they know that that's their opportunity, not just for a career at Chelsea, but a career at one of the top clubs in Europe. And you're seeing it now with Tomori, with Tammy Abraham as well. They're going on to doing amazing things. Even with Broha, who is on loan now, no one would have expected him to have that much of an impact, but it's the mentality. You can tell he genuinely wants to perform. He wants to do well for Southampton. He wants to prove to himself as well that he can perform at this level.
We saw Brozier in pre-season, didn't we? And he was incredible. Like, so you could see strong, pacey, quick, intelligent, good feet. Finishing-wise, incredible. The confidence a few weeks ago against Manchester United was brilliant, unplayable at times.
Amazing.
But there's already talk. You know, he spent 6 months out on loan at another Premier League club. A year ago, not many people had heard of him from outside of Chelsea. Anyway, he'd played a handful of games here and there. There's already talk of him being the Haaland replacement on loan at Borussia Dortmund next year if he doesn't start at Chelsea. Which again, such a pat on the back.
Bad
isn't
idea.
It?
Not a bad idea. Yeah, mate, it's a huge pat on the back, and he deserves it. Like one of the. Chelsea seem to time that if you commit to the club, that Chelsea will seem to time your loans really, really well, and to the right club and to the right moment. And it always, especially if you're a young player, and it seems to work out quite well. And whether it is like going on loan to Vitesse, like he did this last season, and showing your worth there, and then getting a Championship move or a Premier League move. I personally thought the Premier League move was maybe a little bit early, but he's absolutely smashed it, and he's continued to. And it's being able to put yourself in that shop window and say if it was a Dortmund or whatever it might be next, or if it's Southampton again next season, it's being able to kind of show that that level of development, because the only way you can develop as a footballer is getting minutes in professional games, and that's the beauty of the loan system.
Absolutely right, absolutely right. Time for then, in case you missed it, a little bit of a lighter look across social media, and I think it's fair to say that Ben Chilwell doesn't think much of Reece James's food choices. Have a look at this. This is, I don't know if you've seen this, but pineapple.
I don't think it's that
strawberries next to pasta and
All
chicken.
I'm saying, if
I
the
don't think it's that
pineapple and the
bad.
strawberries are on a different plate, you're not questioning
Exactly.
it, are you?
The way he separated it makes sense.
No, the mayo's too close to the pineapple for me. It shouldn't be on the same plate.
It makes sense because the strawberries, the pineapples, and the broccoli was, the
that's
bridge.
the guard. Yeah, that's
and
the
then
guard.
you have the pasta on the other side. I guess he just didn't want to use another
You've been going
plate.
for meals with Pep, haven't you? Moving the food around, playing formations with it. This is, well, Kai Havertz. I mean, we've already mentioned it, but this is just incredible, isn't it? The fact that
That's quality.
he scored the winner in a Champions League final, he scored the winner in a Club World Cup
Here's
final.
your moment.
And yet he's still taking
That's
photos.
really
He's
sweet,
still
yeah, that's
humble,
really sweet.
humble enough to unofficially take on the job as club photographer. George and Tia are going to be fuming.
Oh,
Absolutely
mate, a few of them,
fuming.
yeah,
The
100%.
photographers do a great job, but Kai Havertz now very much on their case. And obviously it was a Super Bowl last weekend.
Indeed it was.
Have you seen crazier boots than this, though?
What?
That Beckham's, wasn't it, during the warm-up, I think?
They are Jermaine Pratt, I think it
no.
is.
Okay, fair. Oh, no, Beckham had the diamonds.
Yes.
Beckham had the diamonds, yeah.
Sensational. I mean, Sam, you like
your boots?
You're a baller. You in them?
Those are a bit too fluffy, though. Do you know what I mean? You wouldn't really be able to. It wouldn't give me
You
that
like your black
confidence.
boots as well, don't
Lovely
you?
soft
exactly.
Sam likes
Soft
just a black
touch.
boot. He doesn't
No?
want anything too fancy.
No, that's too fancy,
No,
man.
Okay.
Get stuck in the grass.
Okay, fair. And finally, earlier in the
cleaning job on
season, we spoke about Jorginho, right? We spoke about if he's going to score a hat-trick of penalties at some point. He's already scored 2 in a game. Cameron Brannigan has gone a little bit beyond this for Oxford. He's scored more penalties today than 78 of the 92 clubs have this season. 4 penalties in a game.
That's
I saw that as well, actually.
Yeah.
And he did well to score all of them. Because
Psychologically, that's tough.
that's not easy.
The second, I mean, getting a second penalty alone is not easy. Then a third, really hard. The fourth, at that point, the keeper might have just gone, you know what?
Yeah, you have
Go on,
it.
mate.
I mean, you've got to feel as well, though, whoever's taking a penalty, whoever's saving a penalty against him next, has got enough research now.
Yeah.
Enough research
Yeah.
material.
If I was the
Before a
keeper,
game.
though, I would have been fuming at my defence. Like, lads, come on. 4 penalties. What are we doing?
Some of the challenges were a bit like,
oh, here we go.
A bit shaky.
Stay on your feet. No, Sam doesn't like a challenge. Sam hates a challenge.
Do that to me.
Well, I tell you someone that did love a challenge, the brilliant Jason Cundy. Time to pass over to him and Matt Davies.
Very
for the
good.
warm-up.
Very good.
Yeah, it is the warm-up, and warming up is what some of those Chelsea players would love to do, I'm sure. As you can see, conditions far from ideal in South East London as the Blues make their way out around about half an hour from kick-off between Crystal Palace and Chelsea. It is a derby which has favoured the Blues in recent times. Chelsea won the last 8 Premier League games against Crystal Palace, and that man Romelu Lukaku, too short of 200 career league goals. He's got 8 in 12 against Crystal Palace. Jason Cundy's with me. We're going to go through our 3 points for 3 points, the 3 things Chelsea have to do today in order to win the game. The first, Jason, get tight on Palace's explosive wingers. Now, this is an interesting one because we've got 2 players playing in the wing-back positions today for Chelsea, who wouldn't normally do so, in Christian Pulisic and Malang Sarr. The fact that those 2 have been selected, Marcos Alonso's on the bench, Azpilicueta's injured, is maybe those 2 players being in those 2 positions because they offer a bit of pace to cope with the players they're going to be coming up against.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, Matt. Yeah, there's always that thought process, plus the games that we've had in recent times, and the travel and the bodies that we don't have through injuries. And don't forget that Aspie's been through a lot in those the twilight years of his career. But the Palace have exciting, explosive players, and we're talking Elise, who's been excellent. Eze, another one who's come back from injury, and of course Zaha, who's their talisman. You go a long way, and it's quite simplistic. If you stop them playing, you go a long way to stopping Palace playing. Well, that's easier said than done. I think when you go into games like this, if you can imagine Patrick Vieira's team talk, he's probably saying something similar, actually. He's probably saying, look, I've seen their wing-backs, I've seen what they've got under the bonnet, let's do something. So let's try and stop them. So I think there might be a little bit of both teams doing as much as they can out of possession to stop those influential players in wide areas having an impact on the game. But Zaha is one of those players that once he gets in behind you and he gets ahead of steam and he can get the ball out of his feet, he will cause you problems. He'll look to go down, he'll look for a touch, but also look for those spaces. And if you allow him a space, he can hurt you. He's and not only that, Elise is another one that, I don't know about you, Matt, he really has impressed me. This kid
Former
looks...
Chelsea youth player.
He is indeed, you're absolutely right. And he's a player that looks like he's destined, if he continues, to the top. There's a lot of work to be done between now and then, but you can see there's a lot under the bonnet, and they've got a lot of those type of players. Like I said, keep them quiet. You go a long way to keeping Palace quiet.
You never know quite what you're going to get with Zaha, do you? He can be excellent. He can be anonymous. If we move on to our second point, it is to give Romelu Lukaku quality balls into the box to attack. We saw an illustration of that, of course, in the Club World Cup final. Those crosses, I mean, you're mainly looking at Ziyech for that, aren't you? It's not something you particularly associate with Pulisic, and obviously Malang Sarr is probably going to be doing more defensively than he is offensively in this game. So that's an issue for Chelsea to try and solve without the likes of James or an Azpilicueta who are so good at crossing.
Yeah. There's not a football fan in the world that doesn't know Lukaku doesn't like crosses, right? He loves them, right? He absolutely adores them. The problem we've got, you just alluded to it there, is that we've seen Chilwell and Reece James go missing, and they would have been a huge part of the armoury that he would have been looking for. The goal that we scored in the Club World Cup final against Palmeiras is an example of what, if you get the ball in the box, because they played a 3 at the time. If you do remember looking at the goal, he had bodies around him. The ball was so good that it's pretty much on his head. All he's got to do is leap, get good purchase behind it and head it goalwards, and he does that very well. But it's about getting those balls into the box and getting the opportunities. For me, I don't think we do it enough, Matt. I think that's a failing, I think, under Tuchel recently, and finding a way to circumnavigate the fact that we don't have that natural width. I think we've got to find a way to get balls in open play, where teams are perhaps trying to go, where they drop back deep and they squeeze up a little bit. That's where I think that that Lukaku can really take advantage where the teams come out and the ball comes in, you can get a yard, which he's excellent at. The cross that we scored from actually was from the byline. So that's a different type of cross. That cross is coming back. So therefore, as a centre-half, really, once that ball comes from there, you should be able to deal it. The ones I'm talking about are the ones where the ball is set back or it's on the run, wherefore you're dropping back into the box in a different way. And I don't think we use that cross, and I don't think we use Lukaku enough in those instances.
Bit more of a responsibility on the likes of that man today. Thiago Silva, Rudiger and Christensen too. We know all capable and in fact all enjoy bringing the ball out of defence. Rudiger particularly. How many times this season have we seen him break lines? So if we are saying that there's not particularly natural width or crossing ability from the wing backs, is it up to some of the back three to maybe get Chelsea 30, 40 yards up the pitch and then other people will be in position to get those crosses in?
Yeah, it's once you do that though, inevitably as Palace, you would expect them to drop into an area where they've got bodies back into that final third. What I would like to see us do more of is get them where there's a bit of space for Lukaku to move into, not where they're sat. So it becomes a bit of a race between the centre half and the centre forward. But we saw under Kanté where Azpilicueta would that cross that I know you, me, Matt, and Clive Ben spoke many times about that cross from Aspi that came in from that deep inside area where Morata would arrive to. I think Lukaku would feed off them, Matt. I really do, and we don't do enough. But you're absolutely right. As those players there, you expect Palace to sit deep. Can we then gain an extra 15, 20 yards?
And so that brings us on to our final point now, 3 points for 3 points, and it is quite simply make the front three work. So we've spoken a lot about Romelu Lukaku, but what about the other two guys, Hakim Ziyech and Kai Havertz? Havertz coming in off the back of the winning penalty in the Club World Cup final, but it's often felt like 2 steps forward, 2 steps back in his Chelsea career, usually through no fault of his own, but through other circumstances. And Hakim Ziyech, with Mason Mount not available and Werner out of form, he has all of a sudden become quite an important part of this Chelsea team, and that's going to be borne out today. What are you looking for in terms of a link-up between those three?
Well, I think Ziyech, we're starting to see the best of Ziyech I've seen in a Chelsea shirt consistently over the last maybe 4 or 5 weeks now, starting to see the player I saw at Ajax and what I wanted to see here at Chelsea. It's taken a while. We've seen flashes of it. I just see a bit more of a swagger about his game. Just a little bit more of a arrogance about the way that he receives it. There's just a bit more flamboyancy that I saw in an abundance at Ajax. It feels as though he's been a little bit, I don't know, hiding in some ways, making an easy pass. When he gets into those areas, perhaps shying away from putting that ball in, which he does brilliantly towards that far post that we just spoke about there with Lukaku, would feed off those. And when you look at Kai, I've seen more and more of Kai develop. He's young, we're not anywhere near the finished article with Kai, but I think we might start to see this, especially with the games that are coming now, Matt, thick and fast in terms of every single competition. The front three are going to have to start to be very fluid, whether it be Mace, whether it be Hakim, whether it be Lukaku, whether it be Werner, whether it be Kai. There's a lot of those little players that have got to interact, and that relationship between those three, whoever it is, has to work. And you can't be given an hour to try and get it to work. Almost it's got to hit the ground running straight away. So, and against Palace a couple of seasons ago, though, that the front three that we had that day, and Kai was brilliant, Pulisic scored a couple of goals. We destroyed them in the opening 15, 20 minutes of the game. The game was won. I'm not saying it's going to happen today, but it just goes to show if those front three work, and you get it working really well, it can change a game very quickly.
Well, you mentioned Christian Pulisic, and he is one to watch for this match, not only because he's playing right wing-back, but because he's got 5 in 5 against Crystal Palace, including 3 in 2 games played here. Firstly, he'll be well aware of that, won't he? You know which teams you play well against.
John, when I came in this morning thinking about what player to watch, I spoke about if Pulisic plays, it's got to be him, because his goal-scoring record against Palace is exceptional, both here at Selhurst and at Stamford Bridge. And I think that managers, and they should look at that, because I know, having spoken to and worked with and played with players, when they go to play against certain teams or certain stadiums, it's on their mind. They know it's almost like there's a bit of muscle memory that they can cast their mind back, and there's a bit more of a confidence about going into a game knowing the last 3 times I've played here, I've scored 5 goals. That is a thing. It becomes a thing, and it'll be interesting, really interesting to see how Pulisic, because he looks. Look, every player is a confidence player. You show me one that's not, but certain players in certain areas are more of that kind of, in that final third, they like to get the ball early, nice couple of touches, do something that can get your pulse rating, and all of a sudden the game can change in front of you. You can make the game happen for you while you're in it. And I'm looking at Pulisic today. I think he could be a big player today.
And let's be frank, he's not in the first choice front 3 at the moment, is he? So he's got to take his chance where it comes. And we've seen from Tuchel, he likes to play a wide forward in the wing-back position if the opportunity's there. So there might be more football for him where he's playing today between now and the end of the season.
100% right. And I think today, on the back of what you just said, plus what I've just said, I think that's where he gets the nod today. I think that's why I think Tuchel's looked at that. He'll know Pulisic's record, but Pulisic will also know, and it's a good thing, come on, today's the day, this is your stadium, you know how to perform against Palace, show me what you got under the bonnet.
Right, we are not too far away from kick-off now, around about 20 minutes to go in the driving rain in south-east London. Crystal Palace haven't won a Premier League game in 2022 yet. It's the first time that Chelsea have played in the league since the 23rd of January. That's 27 games ago. We'll see who is up for the fight in the rain. But for now, let's hear from the Chelsea boss, Thomas Tuchel, who spoke to Lee Parker before this game.
Thomas, first of all, good to see you. How has winning the Club World Cup helped to galvanise everybody in the last week or so?
Well, it was first of all nice to win it, and then like 2-3 hours later, you're already again on the plane. And but a flight like this and an experience like this is always the best you can have. Atmosphere was fantastic. The bar was high because everybody expected us. We expected from ourselves to win this, and it was a tough opponent and a tough tournament to play. And then you land here and it's icy rain at Cobham, a huge, like, whatever, 20-25 degrees difference, a lot of time difference. So we have some players who caught a cold, don't feel so well. It's the hangover and the side effects, but we're happy that we made it. We're happy that we were part of bringing this title to London and to Chelsea, which is really something special because of the win Champions League to be part of this tournament. So well done, huge congratulations to everybody involved. And reality is that we are back in Premier League and have a game tomorrow.
I know you don't like to reflect too much, but winning another trophy, what does that do to the winning mentality around the building?
It's the best thing. It's the best thing, and you can never promise trophies and you can never promise titles, but everybody wants to have them, and to have the chance to win two so early in a season it's big, and it's nice because it gives you belief, and these moments of joy and the moments of relief, and when this last whistle goes in a final, and all the pressure that builds up before is what it makes it special, and what you can rely on in a very genuine way without talking too much about it. But you have this experience and it creates a certain bond which is so necessary to overperform.
Focusing on a couple of the players, for Romelu to score 2 in 2 over in Abu Dhabi, what does that do for him?
Yeah, it's the most important. He had two crucial goals now. Still can improve, still can be more involved in our game, but still that's why he's here, and that's the best for any striker in the world.
For Kai to score the all-important penalty, fantastic, but how impressed have you been with his attitude and his sharpness in training of late as well?
Yeah, he deserved to play again. He had a bit of a dip in his form, and he came back strong after we talked, and he deserved to play, and he's available first of all, and he is like reliable in big games. He showed it last year in Champions League. He showed it now this time again. He showed it in the Super Cup. it's good. It can only help for his development, and there's a lot of potential, and and promises you need to hold them, and this is on him, and you need to live up to it. And he's doing this in training. He has like a more physical approach to the game. He's more relying on his strengths, running without the ball, and putting intensity into our attack, but also defensively is good.
It's crazy to think this will be our first Premier League game in a month. What are you expecting?
It feels like this, actually. It
Really?
feels like it. And right after we have, again, like Champions League, Carabao Cup, FA Cup, I guess. Like, it takes another 3 matches. A bit strange, I have to say. A bit strange. You lose a bit the feeling for which competition you are in. And especially for the competition that means a lot for our fans and for us, the Premier League, which is the main competition. If you look at the table, you see it, like so many different amount of games around. So and this can be sometimes also confusing. This can sometimes also make you believe that you're safe, but somebody has like 2-3 games in hand and is suddenly close. So the realistic approach right now is to make sure that we are in top 4, and it's still a long way to go. And tomorrow's the game to play, and we need to be well prepared.
It's crazy that Christian Pulisic has scored 5 in 5 against Crystal Palace. Do you find that there are certain players that just seem to, I don't know, enjoy playing against certain opposition?
It exists. You cannot hide from the fact that it exists. That some players score more against certain teams, and maybe once the belief is starting and growing, maybe it's a self-fulfilling prophecy. So first of all, Christian deserved by a performance in the final to stay in the group and stay in the team. Let's see if we decide like this, and if it's like this, I have no problem if he can extend his run against them.
And finally, as you alluded to earlier, it's another crazy period, isn't it? 3 big games in 3 competitions in 8 days.
Yeah.
It's going to be a test for the squad once again, isn't it?
Again, it does not stop, which is also a nice thing. But it's like this in top-level sports. No matter where you look, you collect a trophy. You have big matches, and the next big match is right ahead of you. So you cannot get carried away if you wanna fulfill your own demands, if you want to reach your own standards, performance-wise, and then in the end, result-wise, you have to accept that this is where you are. You can only have all the praise on highest level, and highest level comes with a crazy schedule. The schedule was a bit too crazy for us since November, and it did not get better with this trip to Abu Dhabi and back, but no excuses. We want to be in that, and so it's on tomorrow, and it will not stop with Tuesday and Sunday following.
Love that. I love these attitudes. It's just we go again. Celebrate and we go again. Thomas Tuchel there speaking to Lee Parker, head of today's trip to Selhurst Park against Crystal Palace. This is really cool, actually, from our friends at the Chelsea America. This is really cool, actually. Obviously, had to tweet a picture looking clean with the Club World Cup badge in the middle. Yeah, I saw him in the mega store earlier before, just outside here. Oh, it does look good. Does look really good.
It
On
adds
both
a
home and away kits as well.
Yeah.
I think they can wear it as well in the Champions League. I'm not sure about that definitely, but I think it's because it's a UEFA competition, you can wear it in the Champions League. So against Lille on Tuesday, that'd be very nice, wouldn't it?
Big game.
Obviously, we've got quite a lot of historic moments that come now. We're obviously adding the Club World Cup to it recently, but on this day in 2006, we had something very cool. A very rare sight, and a goal from Paulo Ferreira, right? So Chelsea beat Colchester 3-1 in the FA Cup 4th round. I've done this research, okay, because this is the goal. Okay.
Oh, come on, Paulo.
Nice finish, good finish, right? I had to look into this because I was like, I don't remember Paulo Ferreira scoring many goals, right? We've had Paulo on the show. He's a lovely man.
Lovely bloke.
Lovely man, and obviously still does a lot of work.
Maybe a handball up from Drogba.
Yeah, nice little knock-on. Brilliant player as well. Versatile, incredible. Joe Cole scoring the other 2. It's Joe Cole, of course it is. Hernan Crespo, lovely ball. This is a good finish as well, because the amount of players you see snatch that really quickly and just hoof it over the bar. Look at that.
Look at that might be today's weather, to be honest.
Yeah. I think that's probably one of the worst conditions we've seen in Stamford Bridge pitch since like the 70s or 80s.
Yeah.
Right? It's one of the
Lovely
it's like
finish,
a,
lovely
It's like a
finish.
carpet nowadays, and then this as well. Is that big Robert Hoof?
What a drive! I think it is.
Don't know what that is on the floor there. Look, Hernan Crespo's just overrun. Look like, and then Joe Cole.
Joseph.
Oh my
dipper.
word! What a player!
Chicken dipper.
What a player! On that Paulo Ferreira goal, right? He was playing at left back on that day. He had 450 appearances as a professional, scored 3 goals.
You know what? That's like me.
I'm
not a goal scorer. Like look, I can only score if there's a corner. But the defensive side of the job, mate, that's all it is.
Yeah.
It's the defensive side of the job. You got to, nowadays, you want your fullbacks to go forward and back. Come on.
Makes it more special.
Paulo did the defensive work very, very well. And during that kind of era of football, I mean, I thought Ashley Cole might have got 12.
Yeah.
Champions League winner. I mean,
yeah.
You know, the proof is in the
Both
trophies that you keep, Sam. Incredible player for the club, incredible footballer in general. I mean, what a career he's had.
Yeah, he was around for a while as well, actually.
Yeah,
I can't remember what year he left, but I think he was playing at the top level for a long time, and I think he was one of those players that you could trust to be in your defence. Like Zach said, he would defend first and then everything else after. So that's why Carvalho weren't letting him go, because it's just like, oh wow, you actually scored a goal, but he was quality.
The biggest compliment I think you can pay both Paulo and Aspi is they're in that category together, aren't they, in terms of players that just fantastic clubmen, fantastic people to have around the club, really wonderful human beings, and people you want representing your club as well.
Oh, massively. Whenever you hear those guys speak or talk in interviews, whatever it may be, press conferences, they speak so fondly, and they're a great representation of what Chelsea is and has become and was. And yeah, I mean, like, there'll be a place for Aspi on that wall outside, and I can't wait to see it go up. I just think he's I think there's a future for Aspi as well in football after playing. I'll be very, very shocked if I'm not seeing Azpilicueta as a manager one day.
Yeah. I completely agree. He's the person, though, isn't he, where you can see him as a manager, you can see him doing the Petr Cech role on the board.
I can see him as a pundit.
Yeah, you can see him doing anything because he's just brilliant at everything he does. I don't want to breeze past Joe Cole because one of my favourite players to watch in the flesh, just fantastic sound.
Lovely guy.
You spent time with him recently, yeah. Indeed. That goal he scored, that second goal, he's scored so many worldies in his career. The first thing you think of is that goal, the volley against Sweden, the little wriggle in the goal against United, where he's bamboozled Vidic and Ferdinand and then slotted it past Van der Sar. 2 goals against Colchester will probably get missed by a lot of people, but both very different goals, but show his quality and his composure more than anything else.
Yeah, Joe Cole was a baller, and I think he played with such freedom. And when you see him play, you just was just happy because he would just try things that you'd be like,
he was a street footballer.
Yeah,
he grew up playing on the streets.
You can tell that he was the one that the manager told just go out and have fun. Do you know what I mean? Express yourself, and he would do that on a week-to-week basis. I really enjoyed him when he was at Chelsea.
I was listening to Joe Cole's podcast with Steve Sidwell this last week, Graham Stack on the former Arsenal goalkeeper, and they were saying that growing up, Joe Cole was like this myth around London because everyone knew about him, knew that he was this special, unbelievable talent. It's rare that a player that has that amount of promise and that amount of hype around them from day one goes and has the career that Joe Cole had and lived up to his potential fully because, you know, again, an argument for one of the most gifted and talented footballers that we've ever seen.
Yeah, it's a sad one because he had injuries as well. He was played by injuries. You just think, what could have been? But man, like, he was so impressive, such a fun player to watch. Like, I remember I used to like go when I played football with my mates, I'd put sweatbands on my arms just for him. And I remember I asked him this on the Chelsea's YouTube channel for a video, and he goes, I was like, what was it, just a fashion point? He was like, no, because I just used to sweat so much, and because he'd put hair product in his hair, it would go into his eyes, and so he just that's the only reason he put the sweatbands on. But for me personally, that was just amazing to find that out. But
single-handedly push the sales of sweatbands.
Literally, like, you can probably see the Joe Cole arc of like, when he was playing, sweatbands up here, and then as he's retired, they've gone back down. And then David Luiz took him back up. But an absolute legend of the game. I love him bits.
It's like the Phil Foden and Gaza spike of the hair guy, isn't it? All of a sudden, there's a big arc. A very Joe Cole heavy week as well. Bear in mind, we've got Lille in the Champions League and then Liverpool in the Cup final a week Sunday. Someone like that. We've got players in the squad that are very similar to Joe Cole in terms of have got that brilliance and that composure, that calmness. Kai Havertz, for me, had one of the best performances he's had in a Chelsea shirt at Palace last year. That goal that we've seen Chelsea have tweeted about recently, it's an unbelievable goal. You feel that today could be him. Tuchel's spoken about that link up between him and Lukaku being important. Another opportunity for him to see, for us to see them both play today.
Yeah, I think they've really started to understand how each other play, and we saw it against Palmeiras as well. Like they were linking up quite well. Like we said as well, sometimes when you have striking partnerships, you always have one striker that everyone's trying to feed, and then the other striker might be a little bit upset or they want more from the game. But I think with Havertz and Lukaku, they want to play for the team. They want the goal the goal is the most important thing. Whoever gets it doesn't really matter. And I think that's definitely important to have in a team where we've got so many forwards with so much different quality as well. And I think with Tuchel now trusting them to, play games one after the other, they're probably understanding, okay, cool, this is our opportunity to, really stamp our authority in this team and just score more goals for Chelsea.
Completely right. It's going to be a big afternoon at Selhurst Park. It's damp, it's wet, it's windy, but Chelsea are going to be dry and we're going to be good. Chelsea versus Crystal Palace at Selhurst Park. Commentary coming your way next with Matt Davies-Adams and Jason Cundy.